Messy Christian Mamas. We are three Christian moms with a progressive mindset and loving hearts and minds. We are imperfect humans, but we're all loved in God's sight. At some point, we've all felt like the church and Christianity may not have been for us, but God isn't looking for perfection. He's just looking for you.
We are not experts in Christian theology, and we do not represent any particular Christian faith or church. We are simply here to be authentic, and we hope you join us on this journey.
Today we talk about the difference between introverts and extroverts, and we look at some really great examples of what introverts and extroverts actually are. We use the test on 16personalities.com, and we highly suggest that everyone take it because it's always great to know a little bit more about yourself and your default personality.
Then we can start. So what are we talking about today?
So today, well, we also don't have Ashley on this episode today because, it's just like the cacophony of schedule.
Yeah.
And Kaylee, you go out of town on a well-deserved vacation.
Tomorrow, oh God, I'm so excited. Oh my
Gonna
gosh.
put your toes in the sand.
Yep, I plan on doing nothing for 7 days.
That's fantastic.
It's gonna be awesome.
I hope you enjoy it. And Ashley, I hope she had a great time on her vacation.
She looks like she had a great time.
She does.
We'll have to post some of her pictures because they're beautiful.
That's great, yeah. But she comes back and then she has a kid, so it's just a little bit tricky to do the recording on those weeks. So anyway, we thought today would be a good, just kind of chill conversation about the introvert versus the extrovert.
Considering we have both ends of the spectrum.
And yeah, so that's what we're talking about today. So we'd love to hear from you guys if you've taken any of these tests, whether it's Myers-Briggs or another personality test, or whether you just consider yourself an introvert or extrovert. We'd love to hear what your results are, so we can chat about those and we can see who our tribes are. That would be fantastic, right?
I really feel like you do need to pair up introverts and extroverts. It's like Hufflepuff with Slytherin. Like those relationships just make sense. You've got to
absolutely. They're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
right.
Balance. The opposites attract.
One day I got to Ashley's house early. Ashley and I are both introverts, just to give that away. And I think we've talked about it before, but I sat there quietly doing research while Ashley was like doing the dishes in the kitchen. We were perfectly content.
And then Kaylee storms through. It's like, why is this so quiet? It's weird. Stand in silence.
And it's also so much like our kids too, for the record.
Yeah. My child
right?
Can't be quiet either.
So thought we should start with a good place to start would be pre-testing. So before you've taken any personality tests before, Kaylee, curious, did you identify as an introvert or an extrovert?
Well, I think it's interesting, because I'm definitely an extrovert now, but I think that was more a learned behavior because when I was a kid and pretty much all through high school, I was very much a loner. I had my core group of friends, but I wasn't one to perform. I wasn't one to really be out there. I didn't like to be the center of attention. I didn't like to talk to a lot of people. But when
big reader,
I was big reader.
Yeah.
And then I started waitressing and I started bartending and I started seeing, these personalities that I was working with that had these, great big outgoing personalities, and they were making much better tips than I was. So it was kind of like this fake it till you make it. And I think it just became my personality to where I got to be outgoing. I got to be friendly. Now I am still a person that 1000% values alone time. My social battery, especially as I'm getting older and I am not in the food industry anymore, tends to zap a little bit quicker. So I can do really, really well in people situations, and then I don't want to talk to anyone for a couple of hours.
Oh yeah.
Charlie knows when we leave church on Sunday, because we're here pretty much all day doing Sunday school and services and everybody knows us and we're heavily involved, that as soon as we leave church, it's I'm going to my office to be alone for an hour because I just don't want to.
Oh yeah. My
talk to anyone.
Famous Sunday activity is a nap after I get home, have lunch, then
Yeah. I love people.
Closing my eyes.
I love people, but I love them in small doses.
Yeah.
And because I'm not constantly around them anymore, it's, I can deal with it better.
I love people that I know.
I love meeting new people. I find it fascinating. I think that's definitely why I was such a great waitress and bartender.
Yep.
Because I wanted to make personal connections with people. I wanted to find out something about them. I didn't care what it was, just something to make a connection there. And so I loved meeting new people. And I got to meet thousands upon thousands of people, and I loved hearing their stories.
Funny enough, that's where we met.
I know. Apparently,
I
was your favorite.
We've talked about this.
I was your favorite waitress at the Mexican restaurant.
You were a favorite waitress, and I thought that you were so amazing. Every time we went in, it's like, oh, I love her. And you were always so sweet to live too. You were so sweet and connected, so beautifully with her, and was just like you do now. Like I see you with kids all the time now. The way that you connected them on their level, it's just such a gift that you have.
Yeah, I did all those jobs. I did, waitressing and bartending. I was a teacher. So I did all these jobs that required me to be extroverted and social and outgoing and personable. And, now that I work in an office by myself, it's one of these things that I cherish it and I enjoy it. But there are times where I'm like, I just want to meet people. I just want to go outside. So I take my computer to Starbucks and I'm just like, hey, what are you working on? Someone's on a personal conference call and I'm like, hey, I like your bag. Let's chat. And they're like, I'm working. And I'm like, well, so am I, but I can still chat at the same time.
Well, it was funny when we first saw you at church. Brad saw you, my husband, before I did at the church. And he was like, you remember that woman who used to wait on us? She actually came to church with her daughter today. And I was like, what? Really? And sorry for that brief interruption.
This is what happens when you're so popular here at the church. People just
this is what happens with Kaylee, the extrovert, around. If they just saw me in this room.
That's not true.
It might not be true.
I'm going to say it's not true. Because let's talk about, I think when people first meet us, they might get the personalities confused.
You think so?
Because I think so, because you're a performer.
Yeah. And
I think, I think it's this taboo thought that people think that if you're a performer, then you're an extrovert, which is not true.
It's generally not true.
I'm about to say, I think my daughter's the anomaly in that entire thing, because so many people I know who are performers and artists and everything are very introverted, that it's just their passion overrules their personality.
Well, and it's their expression. They don't know how to express speaking personally, don't know how to express ourselves usually. So we have to use some kind of artistic medium to.
And we talked about when you're done, you want to get away from people. You don't want to be.
I don't know
into
how to
a crowd
after that at all. I don't know how to human.
So when people get here, I'm a Sunday school teacher, so maybe you kind of see it. But if I'm just sitting, and people if it's someone's brand new to our church, and I'm just sitting in, the congregation, and they see you up there, they're probably going to think, oh, well, that's obviously the more extroverted personality, until we open our mouths. And then they're like, wait, no, this one's louder. This one's got to be.
Yeah. And then it's pretty clear.
Yeah. You're like, okay, bye. And I'm like, tell me your life story. Where are you from? What were your childhood pets? Tell me everything about what's your sign? And you're just like, I'm going home.
I need a nap right now. This is exhausting me. So yeah, I would say for myself, before I ever took a personality test, I didn't really know if I was an introvert or extrovert, which I think is just because I didn't really understand the definitions of the two and how to classify myself, because I do enjoy social gatherings, especially people that I know. It's not that I don't like to meet new people. I do like to meet new people. It's just in doses and when I'm in the right state of mind.
Yeah, it's not your comfort. It's not
exactly.
It's not, you wouldn't choose to be on a welcome.
That's not my default setting, for sure. But yeah, I think once I learned that an introvert versus an extrovert is more how you like to relax, like how you spend your downtime, and that for me is definitely alone. I grew up as an only child. I can't remember if I talked about this in the podcast, but I grew up as an only child until I was almost 16 with a mom that worked a million jobs. And so I was alone all the time.
Yeah.
That's
where I was not.
Right.
Ever.
You had a big family always around you.
My mom ran a home daycare until I was 12. Yep. So we always had people around.
I had no one around. The sound of the television, So I always had, for years, always had the TV on, always went to sleep with the TV on because it was, a comfort to have that there for me.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because I don't do well with silence. So like even when I'm at work, I have to have music playing or, something on in the background, audiobook, something on in the background. Don't do very well with silence, but I don't really feel relaxed around lots of people either. I think it's more my core people.
Yep, that makes sense.
Like I'm good. I know if I want to be alone, I can always tell when I'm going into a depression valley when I want to be by myself for long periods of time. When I just want to go into my room and shut the door and not talk to anybody for more than 10 minutes, then I'm like, nah, we need to look at what's going on because that's definitely a sign for me.
Yeah, I think for me, when I go into the depression valley, it's like when I'm really looking for activities that will take me a long period of time to do alone.
Yeah.
Like doing a puzzle by myself or it's like those things once I start really craving those things.
You
like,
buy a 5,000 piece of puzzle and you're like, Brad, something's going on.
Intervention.
You just show up. Me and Robbie, the other extroverts, show up, drag you out. He will deal with
we brought
today.
Our puzzle gloves. Everyone get ready.
My brother-in-law is an introvert. I feel like both my middle sister is more of an extrovert. My youngest sister, I think, is definitely more of an introvert, and her husband is definitely an introvert.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because their older son, the 3-year-old, is such an extrovert. Like he loves people, but he only loves his people. Like he's really good at playing in playgrounds and everything, but like he likes his people. But yeah, the puzzle thing is what made me laugh because Ben is definitely like that guy. Like, he's like he's like, I'm gonna do a puzzle, and like we'll be like, do you want help? And you could just tell like the look on his face is like, oh God. No.
This is a quiet activity.
It's like one of these things where like we do it, like he'll let like Leland help with like a corner, and then you can tell like as soon as Leland loses interest, like Ben's like rearranging it and everything. Touch OCD there.
Now, if I'm going away to a cabin, then a puzzle is an appropriate activity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No need for intervention. Just to be clear, if I take my puzzle,
if I talk about because I turn 40 next year, so I really want to do a vacation by myself. Mostly just to see if I can do a vacation. I've never been on a vacation by myself. I think the closest I ever did, I went to DC for a couple of days, for a day. I wasn't even a couple of days, a day in college to do research for a paper because I was a spoiled ass Delta kid and I could do it. So I just went up there, did my research, and slide back.
I'm surprised with that in mind that you didn't do that more often.
Oh my gosh. Now I look back and I'm like, you had so many wasted opportunities. But no, you had to be with your friends.
Sure.
Now that I'm older, I'm like, I want to go somewhere by myself, and my mom doesn't understand it. And Pam's like, why would you want to go somewhere by yourself? And I'm like, because I want to do what I want to do, and that be it. Like me and my sister, the middle one, Courtney, we have very different ideas on how to vacation. I'm very much my dad. Like when we go on vacation, we just plop ourselves on the beach.
Okay, same. We would get along well. Yeah, on
I don't want to plan.
I don't want anything planned.
I don't want to do anything. I don't like. I
want food to just be like prepped somewhere so I can wander in and do it instead of like planned meals.
We started doing like early dinners because it's so crowded. We go to Panama City, so it's so crowded. So we always do dinner around like 4:30, 5 o'clock, which is great.
Yeah, because
there's like nobody there, and then you can go home and you can just like be at the pool and everything. My dad and I have very similar ways we vacation. My middle sister is a planner, and she there's things to do, and she's got agendas and everything. So we vacation very, very differently. Like I want to sit on a beach or go to a pool, and I'll make lots of friends. Like I'm like my daughter that way. but I don't want to, be like, okay, we're going to do this day and we're going to do that this day and we're going to do that. And I'm like, whatever, I'll figure it out as we go along.
It's so funny because I will make friends when, oh my gosh, this is really funny about our personality types. So as you're saying this, when I'm at the beach, if I see somebody that like I feel like somebody creepy is interacting with, then I will insert myself in that situation and make a friend with the person that I feel like
100%.
victimized. And like, that's where I make the friend, which says a lot about my personality.
And I have gotten myself in so much trouble doing that because in Florida, you never know. Like, it's one of these things where it's like, no, this is my husband. And I'm like, oh, okay. Whoops.
I haven't gotten myself in trouble with that yet, but the place that we went to is usually pretty quiet and family-like, and we always kind of knew who was there and the people you saw them with. I don't know. There's always just like a couple random dudes that are just up to no good.
Charlotte's always really good. She's really good about making friends on vacation,
on vacation.
I think
on
it's
vacation.
well, yeah, but like it's like to me, it's very obvious on vacation because they're so short term little like relationships.
Yeah.
But she's so good about, finding kids, especially finding kids that may not have like siblings to play with because she's an only kid. And so she's like, I know what that feels like. And so she's really good about sharing and, inviting people in. And she handles rejection really well, which is really great. And I'm glad she does because I do not handle rejection well at all. But she does a great job. So if the kid doesn't want to play with her, she's like, okay, I'll just find another kid. It's Panama City. Like, there's kids everywhere. Like, in the summer. Like, she's going to find another kid pretty quickly. But
that's awesome. Well, so for today's discussion, for our personality tests, we took a Myers-Briggs test. And we both have a little bit of history with this before our latest testing, round of testing. I worked at a company prior that actually required us to take a professionally guided Myers-Briggs assessment.
Why?
And because it was on the call sheet, our personality type.
Really?
So we could better understand, I'm saying this in quotes, we could better understand how to interact with others.
Huh, that's interesting.
It's in theory very interesting.
It's good on paper.
It is good on paper.
In theory.
And it was on paper. And yeah, so I took it that way and I've always struggled with like self-identification and just understanding myself and things about myself. So I was the last person to finish it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
guidance.
guidance.
There's going to be a label on me.
I'm sure there was. Oh, we got one of these again.
I want this. And now there's letters. Acronyms.
So I learned a lot about myself though that day.
They're really interesting.
I did. Yeah.
I think everybody needs to take one just because I think like you said, like it's kind of hard to, unless you've been in therapy, it's kind of hard to really understand your own personality because you do put on different personalities depending on where you are. So it's kind of hard. I think for a lot of people, it's kind of hard to find what their default personality is. And so I definitely, we did ours on 16 personalities, which I love because I do feel like I have 16 personalities at times.
We all do, right? In this
it just depends on where you are. You have got to wear different hats all the time.
So, Kaylee, I would love to see your test results. Let's
okay, so I am an ENFPT, which is a campaigner. So the E stands for extrovert, obviously. The N stands for intuitive. So it means that I'm very imaginative, I'm open-minded, I'm curious. We prefer novelty over stability, which I think is hilarious. And we focus on hidden meanings and future possibilities, which I love because I'm all about an Easter egg. I'm always about clues.
Yep.
The F is for feeling. So we're more sensitive and emotionally expressive. We're more empathetic and less competitive. And we focus more on social harmony and cooperation, which I 100% agree with because I don't like confrontation. And then the P stands for prospecting. So it means individuals are very good at improvising and spotting opportunities They tend to be flexible, relaxed, nonconformist, who prefer keeping their options open. And then the T stands for turbulent, which I just
That's fantastic.
I think it's great. Like, and I retook this test thinking like maybe
But the opposite end of that scale doesn't sound great either.
Well, yeah, it's assertive.
Yeah.
Which
really means aggressive.
Which is what, when my dad, like me and my dad both took it, and he was like, well, like, I'm really like a high A, and I'm like, I could have told you that I'm your kid. Like, could have told you were aggressive. But I have gone down in my turbulence. Apparently 3 years ago I was 61% turbulent. Now I'm 58%. So slightly less turbulent now. But I when I read this, it shows you like your strengths and weaknesses and everything. And I was like, oh yeah, like no, this makes a lot of sense. Now you have not told me yours. You wanted to surprise me with yours.
I did. So I would say none of this is a surprise to me.
No.
It's really not. Like, all of this tracks.
Yeah.
I think that it makes a lot of sense.
I think, like, especially, like, when I looked at, like, the scales, too, and because I kind of went middle ground on some of this, I was like, well, that makes sense, because, I don't always want to be around people.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
there are times that I just don't like people. I don't like myself. Like, I don't want to be around myself, let alone, and any one of my 16 personalities, let alone other people.
So, we can also reveal Ashley's, I think, because she sent it to us too. But I'll go ahead.
And hers was not a shock at all either.
But
she's very much her kid.
So I retook this test, and I'm going to share it with Kaylee now.
This is yours?
This is mine.
You and Ashley are the same?
We're the same thing.
Aww.
So I'm an INFP, and I was when I took my Myers-Briggs years ago with this company. I checked us out too to see how we're alike and different. It's pretty funny.
I think that's, oh my gosh, like, wow, y'all are super close.
Super similar, aren't we?
Yeah. Which I'm kind of, I'm a little bit surprised about that.
Because we don't show up in the world in the same way.
No.
Right?
No, not at all. Well, I say not at all. I feel like Ashley's just more, like, chill, but I think that comes with having four children.
Sure.
I think, if maybe she only had one kid, she may be a little bit more, like...
She's like eye of the storm, maybe.
Yeah. Like, you're like the wind, like, around the eye of the storm. It's like close. I'm like the tailwind. You're like more that central wind, whereas, like, Ashley's the eye. Like, everyone's like, oh, gosh. That's crazy, like, how close you guys are.
But my turbulence score, which was a new one for me, that wasn't a part of the turbulence.
Yours is very high.
I am
very turbulent. Although Ashley apparently more turbulent than you, and I would not have said that. I would say that she was much less turbulent.
Yeah.
I apparently am the least turbulent out of all of us.
Right? You're pretty middle of the road.
I am. So I'm really proud of this.
And I'm not, in my initial test, I was very introverted, but this one, I'm only 56%. So really not highly introverted anymore.
I think though, like, when did you take, how long ago did you take that test?
I took that test probably in 2016.
Okay. So it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
And just think about how much your life has changed in 8 years. And I think
I have community now, and I didn't
exactly. So I think definitely, that was going to make a difference. I'm reading what turbulent is, and it's like individuals are self-conscious and sensitive to stress. And now reading that, definitely makes more sense. Because I forgot what turbulent meant for a second. I was like, how am I less turbulent than am I? Like, oh wait, yeah, never mind.
No, it just sounds like hot mess.
No self-doubt. That's what it is.
Yeah, instead of complete self-doubt.
Yeah. Well, we talk about, because Ashley really wants to do a body image episode, which we will do. But at the time when she was saying, I was like, oh no, I'm going through a bad body image moment now. But it very, very rarely happens that I have these bad body image moments, because I've accepted myself so long ago. And so when I meet people, especially women who are absolutely gorgeous like you and Ashley, and I hear about these body image issues, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Let me get a mirror. Hold on. Let me show you.
But yeah, I definitely second guess almost.
And then
everything.
responding to stress, then yeah, like I tend to it takes me a minute to get overwhelmed. But when I am overwhelmed,
Yeah.
like my coworkers can tell you, like I'm like, take the phones. I don't want to talk to anyone. I can't speak to anyone. I'm trying to get everything done.
But you don't get that way
I don't get that way very often.
It's one of the reasons I value you so much as a friend. That when I feel that way, I can come to you, and you are such a voice of reason. You've helped me many a time when I've been in those situations.
I do feel, yeah, and I think the response to stress definitely, I think the mediator, you and Ashley being mediators and responding to stress, I think that is more about like how that stress is going to affect other people as well. Whereas like I know my stress is really just going to affect me. And because it's like the things that I stress out about are really just are personal, like they usually work. They usually think that are only affecting me in that moment. They don't really spread out for me very often. Maybe me like lashing out at my kid or like being snippy with my parents, but I usually kind of contain to me. Whereas I feel like when you and Ashley get stressed because you guys are in positions that like you have people that are so close to you and depend on you so much. Whereas like you have a family, you have a band, you have so when you get stressed, there are people you're having to respond to those people and kind of mediate your stress in response to those people. Ashley's having to do it as a teacher. She has to mediate her stress in response to her 3 kids and her students. So I definitely see where stress would be harder to deal with as a mediator because you're not just getting to stress out and it be just personal and it just be like it's just an isolated event. I can be stressed out and it's only gonna and I only have to focus on de-stressing myself. Whereas like when you guys get stressed out, you have to worry about like, well, how is this gonna affect my husband? How is this gonna affect my kid? How is it gonna affect my band?
In therapy, that's something I learned about myself. Was actually one of my worst behavioral patterns is I try to collect responsibility.
God, if that's not your daughter, Lord.
Right?
That's a genetic trait right there.
I mean, generational curse.
Whew, you want to talk about collecting dramas. Man, oh man. Olivia's got them tucked in her purse.
So, yeah. So
she collects them like Pokemon cards.
It's a rough one, man. It's a rough one. There were a lot of different things I had to walk away from because of that.
Yeah.
Once I learned that about myself. And that included, like when we talked about the pruning season episode, when we had that one, relationships were a part of that. Like the responsibility for other people's feelings and things like that. They just weren't mine anymore. There's certain people's that are, and I have to agree to allow those to be and be okay with that. It's like my family members, the people who are closest to me.
I do feel like sometimes introverts, it's easier for them to prune their relationships and to really focus on like their roots and their branches and everything. Because I feel like being an extrovert, like it's about collecting that. Like because you just want as many people to see you and to connect with you as humanly possible. And so sometimes you can forget about your roots and branches. And so I think sometimes it was really hard for me to cut people off that were toxic in my life because I felt like they needed me and I needed them. And then I realized they're really just poisoning the well and I had to get rid of them. But I do feel like sometimes with introverts, I think, you value, because you value yourself and you value your peace so much and because I feel like introverts also like are able to say no a lot easier. Maybe not.
These days I am.
I'm about to say, maybe not. But I think like introverts, like when people come to me, this is also having to deal with my history as well though, but when people come to me and ask me to do something, because I was never really seen as dependable as before, I always was saying yes because I was just so excited that people were seeing me as dependable now. Yeah. And so I kept saying yes and yes and yes and yes and yes until I was stretching myself too thin that I wasn't really able to give myself to the things that mattered, like my family and my job and my kid and all this stuff. So I had to learn how to say no. But even now when I say no, I feel guilty for saying no because I'm just like, oh gosh, like, well, who's going to do it instead. So I might say no, but then try to find someone to fill that role, or to, to make up for it, instead of just walking away from it. Where I feel like sometimes, you know, like with you and Ashley, when you guys say no, I feel like people might not also approach you for these things either, knowing everything that's going on, and knowing that you are a private person, and that, you're an introvert and everything. So they might not even just approach you to ask anyway. But if you say no, then people aren't like, well, why did she say no? And just like,
she's doing this for everybody else.
exactly. Yeah. Whereas it's with me, and they're like, why are you saying no? You said yes 6,000 times. I'm like, because I'm tired.
I definitely did, but until, I don't know, not that long ago, I had such deep self-worth issues that anytime I was asked to do anything, I collected those responsibilities and said yes, because I felt like, oh, this person sees worth in me, and I couldn't find it in myself. So I was looking for the worth of me in other people and what they saw in me. So it was a big healing journey to get to a point to be able to say no, and say, no, I hear the things that are important to me, and I'm okay with that.
So are ours the same except for that I?
It's hilarious. I was going to bring that up too. We are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're all three of us are NFPs. Ashley and I are INFP, and you're an ENFP.
I was going to say, because I thought we were pretty much all the same.
Yeah. So what percentage are you extroverted?
65%.
Okay, and I'm 56, and Ashley was, I'm pulling hers up real quick.
I should have printed it.
Ashley's also 56%, so she and I are right in line with each other. And then on the intuitive scale, how intuitive are you?
67%.
Okay. Ashley's 84%. 91%.
I 1,000% see that, though.
Yeah.
I think you guys are really good at reading. But I think you especially, I think a lot of that intuitiveness comes from your past.
Agreed.
I think you're able to read a room and read a situation very quickly.
It was a survival.
Exactly.
Instinct,
like, I think that's more of a survival skill than it was, just a personality trait. And it became but like that, those hidden meanings and everything, like reading between the lines, like, I definitely, Ashley has to be good at it because she's a teacher.
Yeah. But also managing people. I managed a lot of people in my professional life, and so much of people generally don't tell you, whether they're your bosses or they report to you, they don't always tell you. They don't always answer your question. Yeah. And so you have to find the answer to the question that you're really asking.
Reading body language. And I'm just put down that coffee. I'm like, God, I really hope that's not clanging around on the I'm gonna get in trouble again.
Okay, on the feeling scale, what percentage feeling are you?
I am 67.
Okay, you and Ashley are very similar. She's 63% feeling, and I am 81% feeling. I'm just emo, is really what we're discussing today.
Well, it's emotionally expressive, and I think that for you, a lot of your expression is emotion based. I mean, you think of the how you choose to express yourself creatively requires a lot of emotion. You can't get up in front of a crowd and sing, worship songs the way that you sing them without feeling that emotion.
Thank you for recognizing that.
You're welcome. Look, I learned. I read between the lines.
Prospecting.
I am
versus judging.
I am 57%.
I've also heard this referred to in my initial Myers-Briggs test. This was called perceiving instead of prospecting, which I might like better than prospecting. Perceiving versus judging. So you said you're what? Sorry.
I am 57%.
Okay, Ashley's 53% and I'm 64%. So we're all kind of right in the zone.
Yeah. It's like, being flexible, nonconformist, keeping our options open. Yeah, I think all three of us are pretty. Yeah. But I did like when I was like saw them in a row and it was like that or judgmental, and I was like, there are probably times that I'm very judgy Judy, and that's my dad was on the judging scale, like really high, and I was like, again, could have told you this is gonna happen because I'm your kid. And you're like a major judgy Judy over there.
And we talked about turbulence, but again, what was your turbulence score?
Mine is now 58%.
58%. And Ashley was the highest on the turbulent scale at 81%, and I am at 78. No, sorry, is that right? 78%. Yes. So
she's only 3% higher than you.
No, I know. It's the only one I think she's the highest on of the three of us. So I've got to give her some. And I think versus assertive, I don't think turbulent is really a bad thing either.
No.
You know?
Well, when you look at it, it says, so turbulent is individuals are self-conscious and sensitive to stress. They are likely to experience a wide range of emotions and to be success-driven, perfectionistic, and eager to improve. And so I think when I'm not going to say, I won't say anything about Ashley that I wouldn't say to her face anyway. But I think with Ashley's score being so high, I'd be really interested to see how that would change in another few years.
Oh, yeah,
because I feel like coming fresh off of what she's just gone through the last couple of years, I think there is definitely some, that was a high stress situation. Sure. A lot of things were brought into an ugly light that weren't true, but obviously are going to eat on your heart and your mind and your soul and your self-worth. And so I would be interested to see how that would change after a few years, and after she's able to put some distance between what happened and that.
I think these are always good to take every few years anyway, just to see how you've evolved as a person. I think it's interesting to take a look at. But yeah, so I think it's pretty interesting that we are all three very similar in terms of our personalities. So not surprising. I would even honestly the denomination and the specific chapter, without getting into too many specifics about the church that we go to, I wonder if there are a lot of people who are in the same camp because of the way.
Probably the nonconformist, right? Open-minded. Yeah,
I could see that being.
Kind of a. There's a thing on 16 Personalities. They have a country profile as well that you can go in and look at different countries.
I have some stats for us, actually.
Oh, I love stats. I love a research stat. Hit me with them, Kendra.
So, Kaylee, ENFPs are 8.2% of the U.S. pop. 10.2% women, 5.8% men.
That makes sense.
It does.
That tracks.
And INFPs, Ashley and myself, it's 6.3% of the U.S. population, 7.6% women, and 4.9% men. Again, I think that tracks.
What's the highest?
I don't know what the highest is. It was not one of the 5 most rare, either of ours.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So, yeah, the most rare was under 2%.
Oh, okay.
So
that'd be interesting.
So I also pulled some fun stuff. I thought we could look at.
Wait, did you see on yours other people who are like yours?
So
because I loved mine. I was so excited when I saw mine.
Some of our what these personalities look like, the charts in some fictional universes. But let's go ahead and look at the non-fictional for a second.
So when you take this test, if you don't take this test for any other reason, take it so that you can see which people have also been identified as these. Mine was Robin Williams, which personal hero. Kelly Clarkson, again, personal hero. So I was so excited when I saw those two. What were some of yours?
Ours are weird.
Well, I mean, again.
Okay. Yeah, ours are weird. Let's go back to the beginning of this list. So we've got Tolkien.
Oh, okay.
Shakespeare.
Okay. Creative.
York.
I love it.
I love a swan dress.
Look, I've already told my Bjork story, so.
Alicia Keys. I'll take Alicia Keys.
Nice. So all super creative, imaginative.
But then we've got Tom Hiddleston and Julia Roberts, which I'm
Julia Roberts. I mean,
all right,
Shelby.
Drink your juice.
Drink your juice, Shelby.
William Wordsworth, Johnny Depp.
Oh,
we're getting some stuff there. So without going too far into that rabbit hole, so some interesting personalities.
So you found personalities like in the fictional?
Yeah, in the fictional world. So I thought I would start, Ashley,
that.
thinking about you here. I thought that it would be fun to pull the Star Wars one. So I thought I'd start with that. And Kaylee is not the Star Wars fan
I'm not.
that Ashley and I happen to be.
I'm not. I don't dislike Star Wars.
Mm,
I will watch. I like Ewoks. I think they're very cute. That's the only Star Wars movie I can really remember.
and that pretty much says it all.
Yeah. Now, Dad and Charlie are big fans. They watch The Mandalorian and they've watched all the movies.
I'm in the process of a chronological order watch right now. Just to tell you the level of Star Wars nerd that I am.
I mean,
You know,
go for it. Look,
Just
I do a lot
finished
of things that
Ahsoka.
can be easily made fun of. Like, I'm not about to make fun of anyone for being a Star Wars fan. Like, I
Well, that's
mean, I
wouldn't-
crochet on a daily
wouldn't be
basis.
offended.
So,
But I was going to pull this up, Star Wars, Myers-Briggs, because I did, and for some reason it's not here anymore. So let's take a look at it. So we've got, for the ENFP, I'll start with you, Kaylee. You are the champion, is
Okay.
the archetype that you're
Well,
given here.
like
And,
it.
you are two people mentioned here, Qui-Gon Jinn,
I don't know who this is.
Liam Neeson,
Oh, well, I told you I would be 100% okay with being Liam
from
Neeson.
Star Wars 1.
Yeah, he's
Just-
awesome.
yeah.
He's got a great accent. I'm all about it.
He was Ewan McGregor's master.
Oh, I would love to be Ewan McGregor's master.
And
Different reasons. but-
Ahsoka as well. Rosario Dawson's
Yeah, I was about to say
series.
because that Charlie likes her because I remember hearing that name. Okay, I like Rosario Dawson as well.
I just finished my second watch of that series last night.
I'll take
anyway.
those.
So the idealist is actually the INFP archetype that's given here. And there are two people mentioned. So two sides of the same coin, I will say. One is Luke Skywalker, which makes sense as an idealist.
It does make sense.
It does. And then the other side of that coin is Kylo Ren.
Okay,
Yeah, Adam
look,
Driver.
I do
Which
know.
I might be a little more Kylo Ren.
Okay, I haven't seen the movies. However, I've seen enough TikToks of Kylo Ren and Adam Driver is my like weird celebrity crush.
Oh, okay.
I think he is just
He doesn't do it for me.
so good. Like I don't like. He's this weird. I loved him on Girls. I've
He
watched
had a
the
great role in
TikToks.
Girls.
Yeah, I've watched the TikToks. I just think I've seen his. He's so personable in interviews. So yeah, he's my like weird celebrity crush, and my dad forever makes fun of me for it. But I am praying with the Cinemax. You know, because Cinemax is doing the redo of the Harry Potter series.
Yep.
And so like every season's gonna be a different series, a different book. I'm so excited. Like I will geek out about Harry Potter. All
We
day.
have that one coming up.
Yeah. So, I'm so excited. So I really am hoping that that Adam Driver will be Professor Snape because it would just make my life like so happy.
Oh, that would
because
be
I love
interesting.
Alan Rickman.
I know. Who doesn't love Alan
Oh
Rickman?
my gosh. Yeah, I was devastated with it when Alan Rickman passed. But
We do it definitely at least an annual watch of Love Actually in my house.
oh, so good. And it has Liam Neeson in it.
And it has Liam Neeson. I mean,
It's got
all the
everyone
British
great
greats
in it,
all the
so.
British greats.
The only
So
person missing from that movie is Maggie Smith.
is she missing from that?
Yeah,
is
she's
missing
not.
from
Yeah,
that
she's
movie.
not in that movie.
Yep.
It's the only British film I think she's not in. So
It's really a terrible movie, like just in terms of message. Like, but I love it so much.
So
I love it so much.
I'm like, don't aspire to these relationships
No,
at all.
None of them.
But it's good watching.
It really is.
That's that high sugar,
Very
high
fun.
fat content. That,
100%. Yeah, it's like
We know
Also-
moderation, guys. Moderation.
also my watch of The Holiday.
I love the holiday.
love The Holiday so much. I will watch that movie on repeat.
Jack Black and Kate Winslet.
Right?
It just. Ugh.
But he's also terrible. The stupid girl that he's with at the beginning.
Oh, for sure.
So dumb.
For sure. But then they
And
end up,
I
and then they're
completely judge
dancing
him. Anyway.
at the end, dancing around.
Yeah.
Oh, Now I'm gonna want to go home and watch it. And
Jude Law and his little girls.
Jude Law with glasses.
Gosh.
No one should be that good looking in glasses.
He really doesn't do it for me usually, but in The Holiday, he's just like such a great character archetype for me.
And I love Cameron Diaz.
I fell for my husband when he was a single dad, so
less
responsibilities.
Was Brad
collect them, put him in the bag.
Brad wearing glasses and
no, but if he had
speaking with a British accent, showed up at your door,
it gone down even earlier.
Door drunk. It's so un-Brad. It's ridiculous.
It's very un-Brad. Okay, so in the Harry Potter universe, let me ask you this: who do you think an ENFP might be of the characters in the Harry Potter universe?
Oh wow. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like who has a similar personality to me.
Mm. Okay, you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Ron Weasley.
Oh. Ronald. Bless. I love Ron.
Yeah, love Ron. I would even say Molly, right?
Molly
Weasley
for
strikes
sure.
Me for sure as an ENFP
I
too.
definitely see Molly. I think like at the end, I think you oh my god.
Get away from my daughter, you.
So good.
So good.
Oh my god, I can't think of the character's name. The awkward one, and then he got really hot later in the series.
Oh,
exactly.
Starts with an N.
Neville
Longbottom. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Neville towards the end. Like when he really like gets his like courage and everything.
Yeah.
I definitely see it. I think
I think that's fair.
Professor McGonagall as well. Although I see her more as like command.
She totally is. She's like the general.
Yeah.
You know. An INFP, who do you think that could be?
Luna
That's
Lovegood.
who it is, yeah.
Exactly.
That's who it is.
I love Luna. She's one of my favorite characters.
Just out there.
I have that shirt. I have the You're Just as Sane as I Am shirt. I love her. I think she's amazing.
So fun. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
No, that was another TikTok thing where I know most of what I know about Game of Thrones is because of TikTok.
Okay. Well, we can do this then quickly because you might not. I don't know how well you would know the character that is you, but mine is Daenerys.
But that's the
Khaleesi.
Yeah, that's the blonde.
Yeah.
With the dragons.
I
can see that.
Yeah. Idealist.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it can go like Kylo Ren can go to a bad place.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, and it didn't end well for her.
No, it did not.
At least in the movies. Books.
George Martin's just like feeling the pressure.
And for you, an ENFP, do you know Renly Baratheon? No. Okay. All right. I don't know how to help you with that.
Oh, okay.
I'll look that a lot more. But for any of you,
do we have?
There you go.
Oh, do we have Bible?
We do. I thought I would do one more.
Okay.
That's kind of fun here. The Office.
I love The Office.
So this is pretty funny. INFP is Holly.
Yeah. Aw.
Makes sense. Right? Makes sense. ENFP.
Andy?
No.
Oh.
It's hilarious.
Right?
Michael Scott.
Michael Scott! Oh my gosh! And you were Holly! Aww.
Match made in heaven.
Cute.
So anyway, and I do have the Bible. So let's take a look at the Bible real quick. So I've got personality types in the Bible. And let's start with, well, who do you think mine could be in the Bible? Any guesses?
What is Jesus? Does it say what Jesus is?
No.
I guess it's that whole human characteristics on God.
Yeah.
Which we're told not to
That
do.
could get dangerous.
Who would be you guys?
So I'll give it to you because
Is it Paul?
it's Barnabas.
Oh, I like that.
Remind me of the story of
Barnabas is Oh wait, hold on, because it might be.
Oh,
I know it's not Barabbas.
No,
I know that
that's
much.
different.
Barnabas is the one. I think he's the encourager. He's the one I think goes around with Paul.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
known-
He and Paul undertook missionary journeys together. And
Yeah,
defended
he's
Gentile
known.
converts
He's
against
known
the
as
Judaizers.
He's known as the encourager.
Yeah. That's right.
Thank you.
Read through all that.
Thank you, Sunday school.
This is a lot. This
It's
is
only
a lot for my
well,
Bible reading.
We did a whole Sunday school series on it, and apparently it took me a second to remember.
There's so many people.
I don't need Barabbas and Barnabas to be so close together. Those are not the two that I want to confuse.
And so for you, this
John
one's
the
pretty
Baptist?
interesting. No. That's
what I was waiting for.
not quite that rock and roll. But pretty good looking in The Chosen.
You have to remember, I've only seen half of season 1.
Still.
Is it one of the disciples?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew? No, Simon.
He is yep.
Yeah.
Peter. Yep.
I can see that.
Spontaneous,
He's definitely
inspired.
he's definitely a campaigner for sure.
For sure. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was
I
interesting.
would be interested to see what John the Baptist's personality type, and then get Melissa to take the test to see if they're similar.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Right? Wouldn't that be so funny? I know you want to do an episode on Paul soon, and I was thinking about it. I was like, how Melissa, the last episode, Melissa talks about how like she's really excited to meet Jesus and God and everything, but she really wants to meet John the Baptist and fangirl over him. I feel like you're gonna have a slightly different approach with Paul. It's gonna be like, Jesus, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. Where's Paul?
Yeah,
because I've got some questions.
We need to talk.
Got some bones to pick with him. Paul's gonna see you and be like, I am busy. Like I have to go over here.
Are you okay? How are you doing?
It's been 2,000 years. Like we've gotten over this, right? We've come to terms.
So, like just some of those perspectives. I just want to check in. Just want to see how you're doing.
I really, because there's this whole thing now where like a lot of authors are, especially Christian authors, like have put out these like super conservative books and everything, and so now they're recanting their books. It's like the no kissing and telling is like you can't make out until like you can't kiss until you're married.
Yeah.
That author has turned around and said like, no, it's bogus. Like don't do it. So I wonder if like Paul is like up there being like, can you just let me recant just a couple weeks? Like,
yeah. Well, I've been doing research on that Paul episode, and there's so much to unpack there that I am going to be excited to dig into.
I'm sure you will be.
So this last one that I wanted to share too was the best church jobs for the personality types, which I thought was an interesting one, considering that we are members of the same church together. So mine is the caring listener. These altruistic idealists seek to understand others and help them move forward. They are creative and perceptive, which helps them influence others. So a pastor of ministries, a director of pastoral care, or a discipleship pastor.
I'm making a face.
Yeah.
I don't think I agree with that.
Okay.
Well, we talked about collecting responsibilities.
Yep.
And I think that for people who are doing pastoral care, there has to be a degree of separation.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like you would be able to do that. I just feel like you would leave a situation and be like, well, now I have to like wallow in this situation a bit instead of like being able to separate.
It would definitely require some self-growth
for sure
to manage through it. For sure. ENFP, the charming creative, these enthusiastic advocates value beauty and their relationships. They are gifted at improvising creative solutions to complex challenges. So connections or groups pastor, pastor of outreach, or youth pastor.
I mean, I'm pretty much there.
I would not argue with that at all.
No, I wouldn't argue with that.
Aligned.
I mean, I do Sunday school and all of that jazz. So
yeah,
co-director of EBS. Be here with my toga. That'd be great.
But anyway, those are the different comparison charts that are out there that I thought were fun and applicable for us. So let's talk real quick about our family. So you talked about your dad and how different your dad is from you in so many ways in his test. I had my husband take the test, and hilariously, Kaylee, I'm going to show this to you. Here is.
Oh my gosh, you guys are the same person. Lord. Is he more introvert? He's more introverted than you, though, right?
Yeah, he's more introverted. 81% introverted. Pretty middle of the road on feeling, prospecting, or perceiving, and turbulent, but 79% intuitive as well. So
I definitely want to give it to our kids.
I would be surprised if my daughter was not an INFP as well.
Yeah.
From an astrology perspective, all three of us are Libras. So
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right there together, aren't you? I'm a Capricorn,
okay,
and Charlie's an Aquarius.
okay.
So, which is just
I
fun
can
because
see
I just sing the Age of Aquarius to her. No idea what I'm doing.
Such a good song.
Such a great song. I won't let her see the musical until she's much
But
older.
we should totally do that. Like that
No.
could actually be a follow-up episode for the kids to talk about personalities.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I
We
would.
should do that.
Yeah,
Ashley too.
with the older girls, I feel like
Yeah.
I don't think it would work for the younger,
I don't think so.
and not even Sophia. Well, Sophia right now would be like commander.
Oh yeah, she's the
she's-
general of anything
yeah,
she shows up for. I think.
Her and my dad. There you go. They're
She's
ruining the world.
But with a kind, sensitive heart at the same time, as we
Very
saw
true.
in the kids episode.
Well, it's like my dad. My dad took this test and everything, and I'm looking at his results, and I'm like, no, this makes sense. I said, but when I really dig into it, it's a gooey center. Like it's this very like kind of aggressive and outgoing shell, and then with this gooey center, and like it's just gotten gooier since the grandkids have come along. He was always a teddy bear. Like when we were growing up, he had 3 girls. He had to learn to be sensitive.
Yeah.
He had no choice in the matter. And then when the grandkids came along, yeah, like a gusher. Like he's just super gooey.
Last thing I thought that I would leave us with is a quick discussion on do you think Jesus is an introvert or extrovert?
I think he's an ambivert.
Interesting. Okay.
I think if he was to take this test, it would be like 50%. Like I think it would be right smack in the middle, because there are definitely times where he wants to be around people and he's very extroverted and he's very out there with the people and wants social connection. But then there's so many times where he's also like, okay, I'm going to go to the mountain by myself, stay here.
See, that's where I would say I feel like he's probably an introvert, because he does have to go away to recharge and center himself again.
Yeah, but I mean, like extrovert, like I have to do that too. Yeah. Like if I go a week with that's why I don't think I could ever do like a cruise or something, because I feel like you have to be on the entire time. I'd be dead at the end. Like I'd be exhausted by the end of like constantly having to perform.
All your meals, everything that you do is always a big social activity.
I'd be like, this lifeboat looks really great. Like let's just leave it. We're just gonna stay here, hide out here for a bit.
I know my favorite vacations are cabins in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or the beach, but very
isolated. Isolated and everything. Yeah, that's why I love going to the beach with my family, because they know me so well that if I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm done. I can't do anymore, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to the house, or I'm gonna go to the pool, and they never question it. They never say like, oh, just stay longer. They know how to read my social battery.
So there was a scripture here that I was going to look up, but I think I'm not going to do it. I think we'll leave it at that. There's an article about Jesus, whether or not he's an introvert or extrovert. So friends, let us know. Let us know what you are.
Yeah, we'll post a link to the test. We'll post a link to the website, because it is a great, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it.
Self-discovery is a wonderful thing. So I think everybody should try to do more of it all the time.
All the time.
Hi guys, this is Ashley, just chiming in my thoughts about the introverted extroverted episode. So this is something I actually think about quite a lot. I have it on my dating profile actually that I'm an extroverted introvert. So it's just something that I think about, like how I interact with the world. To me, extroverted introvert means that I truly feel like an introvert, but I put myself in situations constantly where I'm extroverted. I was an elementary music teacher for a long time, and at 1 year I taught 800 students a week, every week, and that is quite an extroverted job to do, elementary students. So that's just something that I kind of put myself in with my life. So I had a couple of experiences with taking these personality tests. The first time I took the Myers-Briggs test, I was in high school in a really awesome class called Humanities. And it was a mixture of English language arts, economics, government, and psychology. And we had these two wonderful teachers, and I was in this class full of people that I knew since we were like kindergartners. Anyway, we took this personality test, and the teacher actually predicted my personality, and he predicted the personality of one other person in the room, that we would have the same personality. And it was ENFP. And he was correct. I tested as an ENFP the first time. And I just thought it was so funny because the other student, his name was Dan, and he was a wonderful guy. But I just remember thinking, I was like, I am nothing like Dan, which was just really funny to me. For example, one time we went on this camping trip and a hiking trip to Panther Creek Falls, which is a beautiful trail. But when we got there, it was like the dead of winter. It was freezing cold, and Dan tried to walk across this log that was like going across this huge like raging river, and like fell off the log and like went down the river. And it was just this crazy thing. I was just looking, I was like, we cannot be the same personality. So just really funny. I did not have the same reaction with Kendra when I found out that Kendra and I have the same personality type from this personality test. I was a little surprised, but I was like, okay, yeah, I can definitely see similarities there. Then I took the test again when I was about 23, when I worked for a book publishing company called FCNA here in Peachtree City. They give everyone a personality test and also an IQ test, which was fascinating to me. And at that point, I was still an ENFP, but I was like inching more towards the introverted side. I was always like sort of in the middle there, but I was getting closer to introverted. And this time when I tested, I was an INFP, like all the way over to the introverted side, still just at 56%. But yeah, so I just sort of like, I'm always on the fence there about, am I introverted or am I extroverted? I really like how Kendra and Kaylee were talking about when introverts are with their people. I think this is very true, that when introverted people are with their core group of friends, I think it's pretty common for us to like come out of our shell. It's just when you're in other situations with people you don't know too well where it's just more draining. My daughter, my oldest daughter, also took the personality test, and interestingly, she was an ENFP. Because I think Addie really I think she's really more introverted, but she told me she was taking the test, she was trying to think about how does she act when she's with her friends. So she came out as an ENFP. She was 96% feeling, which checks out because she is so just highly sensitive, highly empathetic, just such a sweetheart. I just thought that was hilarious that she was 96%. To comment on the puzzles that Kaylee and Kendra were talking about. If you see me doing a puzzle, please do not intervene. That is my happy place. That is like when I first was getting into my divorce life and being by myself for weeks at a time. That is like what gives me so much comfort, is doing puzzles. So yeah, don't intervene if you see me doing those. And you guys talked a little bit about solo travel. I actually love solo travel, and I think I always have. The first time I did solo travel was in graduate school. I used to drive out to Texas, which was a 21-hour drive out to Lubbock, Texas. And I learned then that I just really loved it. I loved being able to like just go whenever I wanted. I could just skip every meal if I wanted to, and then like just pig out and have like 3 dinners. Like I could do whatever I wanted. So I really loved solo travel. Yeah, I think that is it about my thoughts for introvert and extrovert. I think it's fascinating. Oh, wait, I did have one more thought. I remember reading an article one time about conversations with people who are introverted and people who are extroverted. And when it's 2 introverts together, there's usually like more pauses in the conversation, but nobody feels uncomfortable about that. And when it's 2 extroverts together, there's less pauses. They like kind of just talk and talk and talk, and they're totally cool with it. But when it's an introvert and an extrovert, it becomes uncomfortable because one person wants there to be less pauses and the introvert wants to pause and think about it a little bit more. And there's sort of this like misunderstanding, like a subconscious misunderstanding when you're having these conversations, which I think is fascinating. I would love to hear how our friends are. If you are introverted, extroverted, if you take the Myers-Briggs test, please comment. We would love to hear what your experience is with these personality tests.
Much love and blessings to everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Messy Christian Mamas. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, embrace the mess, share the love, and shine your light bright, my friends.